Hallelujah and happy day! Welcome to South Florida Arts Education and you. I am Carey Brianna Hart, and I'm here to talk about my passion, which is art. I love art in all of its forms. I love the way that art is just this amazing thing that comes out of the ether. It just is a blessing that we have to be able to express ourselves through art, to communicate, to tell a story, to let everybody know, let someone know what you're feeling, what you're thinking. It can transcend socioeconomic barriers, cultural barriers. It just is amazing, this gift that we have of art. I want to remind you that this hour of talking about art is brought to you by C. Brian Hart Insurance, a representative of the Travelers Insurance Company. We write Travelers Car Insurance. We also write home insurance, windstorm insurance, flood insurance. We write bonds. We write commercial general liability insurance. We write commercial property insurance. We write special event insurance. If you have property and casualty insurance needs, please call me Monday through Friday at 305-836-5206, and I will gladly talk with you about insurance. But today, it's my absolute joy, privilege, pleasure, and honor to talk about my passion, which is art. Oh, I am so excited today to talk about art, to talk about a play that's coming up. I have the director of the play here on the line with me. I'm so excited to talk about and with this fantastic, amazing artist, Miss Maha McCain, who was not a native of South Florida. She's actually born in St. Louis, Missouri. She has her master's in fine arts in acting. She's an director, an actor, an educator. She teaches at the University of Miami in the drama department. She is inspirational to her students. She's an inspiration to me. She is fresh off of a run of a world premiere play by one of our South Florida playwrights, Gina Montet, Dangerous Instruments, in which she played several characters at Palm Beach Drama Works. Congratulations on that fantastic production. And now is fresh off of that into another production. This is how we roll. We have to keep moving because the art does not stop. The inspiration, the work, the energy, it cannot stop because these stories have to be told. Right now, about to open this coming Saturday, July 12th, and running until July 27th at New City Players in Wilton Manors is The Confederates, which is a new play, well, relatively new, written in, first hit the boards in 2022 by playwright Dominique Morisseau. This play, The Confederates, that title is explosive, huh? Already right there. But I want to tell you that the play is getting ready to open. The preview, which is on July 11th, is already sold out. So if you want to get your tickets, you need to log on to newcityplayers.org. Get your tickets. They do have wonderful packages. There are talkbacks every Sunday after the show until July 27th. But I have the director of this hot play on the line with me right now, and she is just, as I said before, an inspiration. She's an amazing artist. She is so humble. She's actually very shy. When you hear that performing artists are all extroverts, no, we are not all extroverts. Some of us are not out there in the front, always in front of the crowd, trying to meet the people and greet the people and shaking hands, and you won't see all of us out in the forefront, and this is one. You will see her work. You will be moved by her work. But if you look for her after the show, she's probably slipped out the back already, which she has done to me a couple times when I'm just like, wait, where's Maha? Is she coming out? And no, you hear her giggling. No, she's not coming out. She's already gone. She's in her car. She's already decompressed and let the show go and on to continue her beautiful life. And so I just want to welcome Maha. Welcome, Maha, the amazing McCain. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy that you were able to take the time to be here because, as I discussed maybe a couple weeks ago, Tech Week, when you're opening up a show is so selfless and you have no life. But thank you so much because you're about to go into Tech Week. You start today, sets
Yeah.
off that firecracker, which comes right off the 4th of July. The Confederates, we are patriots. We are love America. Yeah. And we're going off into the week, what we call Hell Week in theater, where you have no life except for being at the theater, thinking about the theater when you're not at the theater, just hydrating and eating just to get by,
Yeah.
fulfilling your commitments as best you can while you can, but then every other thought is about getting this show to where it needs to be to get it open. So thank you very much for being here with me today.
No, thank you for having us and being able to talk about the show. I'm very happy to be here. So absolutely.
Now, the first question that I like to ask people is, how did you first discover your love and passion for the arts?
I don't know. I've always been into the arts ever since I was a child, so it didn't seem like anything different. Been doing theater and music since grade school, so it's just a natural progression to hopefully try to make it a career of some sort.
Hmm. Okay, and that's not a choice that a lot of people make, because a lot of people don't have the arts around them, but the arts are so important, and they are
Yeah.
building blocks to shaping a well-rounded, compassionate human being,
Yeah.
as I would
Hmm.
say. So I want to talk about the Confederates. You have an all-star cast, with the
Yeah.
Confederates. You have some people in the play, Carbonell-winning actress Rita Cole.
Yes.
You have Nye Fairweather.
Hmm.
You have Denzel McCausland, who's fresh off the run of Fat Ham.
Hmm. Hmm.
Gemma
With
Berg. I'm sorry.
yeah, with Todrick Brunson,
And
yeah, and then also in Fat Ham, a wonderful production.
mhm.
And then we also have Gemma Berg, another young actor who is wonderful to work with. We have a great cast. It's been a joy to be able to work with all of these wonderful actors.
Yeah. Now this story, The Confederates, it takes place 160 years apart. Like we're in two different
Hmm.
time zones. How does that
Yeah.
how does that work? How does that work? That we're in two.
Yeah, no, Mauricio bounces us back and forth between time periods in a way that I think it doesn't feel too. I think the audience is able to go on the ride with us in terms of how we're time traveling pretty easily with the structure of the play. I hope that it comes off as easy to understand when they're watching the show.
Hmm.
And she's doing this purposefully a little bit to, I think, make a point about history, but I think also a little bit of discombobulation as we move back and forth. And the more we progress through the play, the more that these time periods begin to overlap in terms of theme and also tension, right, in action.
Hmm.
And then we're tracking the parallel lives going back and forth between two principal characters, Sarah, an enslaved woman living right before the time of the Emancipation Proclamation,
Hmm.
and then Sandra, a university tenured professor who we're taking as a present-day character. And we're really trying to see how America sees itself through the eyes of both of these women and the other characters that they encounter. So the rest of our ensemble actually are playing, well, we have Sarah staying in the past and Sandra in the present.
Hmm.
We have our other ensemble actually bouncing back and forth, playing two characters each, going back and forth between time as well.
Ah.
It sounds like it may be this very, very serious story, but it's actually has a lot of humor built into it as well, which I think is a really good idea and tactic for the writer to do to help us as an audience go along with where the story goes and not get overwhelmed by the horrors of what was going on for Black people during slavery, and to help us bridge that gap between where are we now as a society, where are we now as Black women, how much has changed over time.
Hmm.
So the play is really trying to not only tell a really good story, but provoke the audience into a lot of thought about how they're dealing with the time periods that they're living in. And that has history really done that much in terms of change? Yes, America has made progress, but how much progress has there been in actuality. There's progress on paper for a lot of people, but not necessarily in their everyday lives. And I'm also thinking about recent events as they're going on right now, and how much for us just here in Florida we're being affected by in terms of what's going on politically in this country, what's going on economically in this country. So this play, I think, even though it was written just a few years ago, seems very, very appropriate for the year that we're in right now. So I hope audiences come to see it and fill the house every night. That would be amazing. Mm-hmm. But I also hope that for those of you that are going to come see it, the play helps you to think a lot about who are you and what can you do to help make progress continue, to keep the wheels of change turning and not let it become a stagnant journey, if that makes any sense.
We're going to make it make sense, right?
We're trying.
That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, make it make sense. Yeah. So it's and like the non sequitur of the issues that you brought up, like the gender roles and the progress that Black women have made or not made in 160 years, the issues that are being faced, and then like comedy, like thinking of it comedically. The mechanism is amazing, because we know it works, right? And then we can get people in the same room to address these issues, because oftentimes you have people in mixed company that don't know what is or is not funny. But here we've got something in your face that, this is very funny. This is not funny. This is ironically funny. Like, that's an amazing, beautiful jewel that we have with being able to create theater and present a play like this. And it's interesting because and for what we've been trying to take to heart, because I won't say we. Let me put it this way, because I'll just put it on myself. I, as a Black person, as a Black woman doing theater, when you're lucky enough to be able to do a play like this that, can't speak to you as a person, I feel a lot of responsibility to say, I really want to make sure that this story is told properly and correctly, and that we're allowing these women to have their voices really ring out, right? And so I think a lot of times there would be this huge pressure to make sure that the play comes across so seriously, right? And that we're not joking around, because these aren't laughing matters. What's interesting, though, is in the introduction, in her introductory notes to the play, one of the things she says, is, may you have fun in the mounting of this play. If you are not having fun, you're taking the play too seriously. So it's been I was so glad that she put that in there, because it really helped me and the actors as well just say, okay, but we have room to breathe in this process. We have room to really point a finger at the absurdity of systemic racism, at the absurdity of white supremacy, and just say, this is a joke. Because if we don't laugh through it, we're just going to sit there and be miserable. So we've got to hold our heads up and keep walking and keep going. Even though the truth is that it's all around us, it's still a matter of, but I'm not going to let this affect me. And if you really try, I'm just going to laugh it off and keep going. And keep
because
on going.
My heart is going to tell me where I'm going to go, right?
Yeah, keep on going. I am here talking with Maha McCain, talking about The Confederates, a play that is opening up at New City Players on July 12th, running until July 27th. You can catch it newcityplayers.org. There's a wonderful preview streaming on the internet, on the website. So if you want to check that out, we're going to go right now to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. And we are back live in the studio talking with Maha McCain about The Confederates. She's the director of this amazing production that is opening up at New City Players July 12th, played by Dominique Morisseau, that deals with race, gender, two women in two different times, two different centuries, dealing with systemic racism and what remains of it, what's created it. Lots of questions, lots of things. I've not read this play. I'm super excited to see it though.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I thought I was going to get to see it on the preview night on July 11th. However, it is sold out. Congratulations.
Thank you. I had just heard that the other day too, and I was like, oh wow, that's great. So I'm like, keep buying tickets,
Keep
friends.
on buying
keep
tickets,
coming.
friends.
Keep
Keep buying tickets. Log on newcityplayers.org. You can get your tickets. You see the entire calendar. You see that the play opens on July 12th. And then from then on, you've got the Sunday matinee. Then you've got shows on Thursday. On Fridays and Saturdays, New City Players has what they call the wind down weekends, weekend wind downs, where you can enjoy complimentary wine on Friday and Saturday evening performances. Those performances are at 8, and then on Saturdays in the afternoon, there's a matinee at 3. That's not part of the wind down, and then Sunday after the Sunday show, there will be a talk back with the creative team, with the cast, with people to help us field these feelings and emotions and things that sometimes do happen. You see a play, sometimes our emotions flare up, sometimes our egos flare up, sometimes our brains, but most of all, what I love about theater is that our brains get like fired up completely with new ideas, the new images, the new thoughts that come, and how we process those things. It's just, I mean, the mind is an amazing instrument, and when we use it creatively, and it's just, it's just beautiful. I love it. I love using the mind to create. It's like being perfect, when you're creating something.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And so being a director and having, you mentioned the weight of wanting to have these stories told well, wanting these stories to be told completely, wanting the voices of the women to be heard. But what do you do? I mean, you can't hit people over the head with a message,
Right.
You can't,
Right.
What do you do? How do you, as a director, nuance, finesse it to make it happen? You have all these tools. You have your creative team. You have people who are there saying, "What do you need? How do we help you tell the story?" What have been some of your best resources and tools that you've used to create this production?
Well, first of all, I have to give a huge shout out to our creative team and to New City Players. New City Players has been a wonderful theater. This is my first time working for them and with them. And it's been a joy. They've really taken care of us throughout the entire process, have been extremely supportive. The creative team, we have Michael McCain as our scenic designer, lighting designer Annabelle Herrera, props and set designer. I know she's working probably right now in the theater, Jamila Bailey.
Yes.
Costume designer Casey Sacco. Also here in makeup designer Lonnie Donovan. Everything. Oh, and let me make sure I say our sound designer, Ernesto Gonzalez. I'm making sure I get everybody's name as much as possible out there. From the get-go, it's just been a matter of what are we trying to do, right? And that's with every production. What are we trying to do? But especially with this play, being sensitive to how are things going to land? How are things going to land with the South Florida audience? We're looking at this play is being produced as a South Florida premiere. And we know that just in itself might generate a lot of buzz and people want to come see a show that's just a couple of years old. But in terms of how are we doing it, just saying, first of all, starting with the great play and saying if everything on the page is working really, really well, how are we going to support that? How do we get out of the way of the play and make sure that what's happening on the page is what's happening on stage, right? And then bringing into it just a little bit of a nudge and a wink to the audience to say, we're going to tell you the story, and we really want to heighten the message that's being told by just giving a lot of spectacle. We're leaning a little bit more into an epic sense of storytelling, and I say we're leaning a little bit, right? We're not trying to do too much.
Right.
Because I agree with you. You can't just say this is a message play and that's all we're going to do with it. That's going to turn an audience off. Theater absolutely needs to be enlightening, but we have to do it through entertaining the audience. So for me, any play, it's about saying, let me make sure that I'm adhering to the story. That's just the bones of the script. But making sure that the characters are really leaning into the subtext that they're feeling, what's going on in their brains and their bodies as each moment hits them, playing the wins and losses. I really firmly believe that no matter what the story is, if we're watching characters struggle, we're really watching them deal with conflict and obstacle, and we're seeing the wins and the losses that they're going through, we just naturally, as human beings, begin to root for them, right? We automatically are identifying this is the main character. This is the journey that they're going on. Am I with them or am I against them? And in this play, there are a lot of times when I think you may ask yourself the question of, should I be with this person right now? Is this the person I should be rooting for? Are they making the right decisions? It's not a clear-cut story from the get-go, and you have to really watch and pay attention to say, this character could be making a mistake right now. And to me, I think that's where Confederates gets really interesting, because in watching the characters fail sometimes when they really are, I believe in their heart, attempting to do good, the idea of why is what I think the audience can really take home and say, but if I focus on why they were doing that, I'm starting to get a lot more information about what is the play really trying to do. We suck them in early with a really good story, strong characters, and then once we're sitting there and we're all at the table having a really good meal, then we start to break it down into, but who is this person? Who is that person?
Yeah.
And why are we all here right now? And who are you? Do I see myself in this character? Have I made mistakes? Have I forgiven myself for the mistakes that I've made? Have I learned from my missteps? And I think a lot of that is what Mauricio is getting at in the play, is saying, look at yourselves, American citizens, look at yourself, America, and have you learned from your past mistakes? Are you doing what is necessary to take the steps forward? Are you being honest with yourself about who you are and what your intentions are? And are you willing to make change within yourself to try to be the best person, the best iteration of yourself that you can be? And that, to me, is at the heart of Confederates. And she uses politics, she uses race dynamics, she uses gender dynamics, right? To help us just open up the box to peer inside and say, let's look at all of these things in total, to then really get at, we're not all that different from each other. We may want to think that there's all of these divides between us, but they're really not. We're all working to get to our best self. We're all trying to carve out a little bit of safety for ourselves somewhere in our communities. And I think one of the big lessons is just make sure you don't carve out that space too tightly and you can't see anyone else. You're not just locked into your own silo. There's a lot of layers to the play.
A lot of layers,
a lot of layers to the play. But that's what's made it fun.
Yeah.
That to me is the challenge, is we can't be afraid of that. We're just going to step right into it and be like, all right, so let's play. Let's see what we can uncover. How deep can we go?
How deep can you go? And then, I mean, it seems like if you just take off, I was having a conversation with some individuals yesterday, if you just take off the skin, you know, I mean, we can go real deep because we all feel the same things. We're all made the same way. We all have the same, it's the same thing. Your veins run exactly the same way that my veins run. It may be a little higher, maybe a little lower, maybe a little tighter, maybe a little wider, but it's exactly the same. Just remove the skin. You know, remove the skin, remove that. I mean, and I hate to say it's an obstacle because we need the skin to hold everything in. But if you remove it, then we're all the same. We're all equal. We all so deep.
And to do that, and at the same time, keep a little bit of ourselves, right? understand that we're all the same, but that doesn't negate the culture that we're bringing into the situation, right? That doesn't mean that we have to be quiet about who we are and how we've been brought up. It means that we can celebrate it, and in that celebration, we're not celebrating anyone else's, but we're allowing ourselves to say, this is who I am and this is where I come from. And that makes me, me, but I also have to be aware of the implicit bias that I'm bringing into the situation just by being a product of a person in the modern world, right? The fact that we grew up in a world where those divides are right in front of us, and, you know, we're taught to believe that those things are real as opposed to created. Right. You know what I mean? And I think that's the fine line that the play rests on, is to say, how much implicit bias are you bringing into any situation? And are you aware that that exists within yourself? And just the simple awareness that it exists. Bias is brought up. I'm trying to make sure that in talking about the play, not to give away too many things that you can come and watch the story. But that bias has a lot to do with what the characters are going through in the play, and how each person, no one is free from the horrors of implicit bias. It's just a natural thing to fall into, and that's why I'm saying the simple awareness that we carry that within ourselves, to me, is more than half the battle. Because if I know that that's where my brain can go, then I can try to check it when that comes up. When I do start to point a finger at someone else and say, different from me. It's not a problem to say that someone's different. It's why am I saying that they're different? That starts to get a little dangerous, right? Why am I heightening that difference? What is that doing? Is that really just making a separation of a wider chasm? And again, is that to protect myself? Or am I doing it just to say, yes, I see you and you're there and I want to let you know that I see you, and that's all that I'm trying to do. We're in a place right now in America where, you know, some people are afraid to go outside of their own homes right now. Very with true. Everything that's going on. And that to me is very sad, that people don't want to go places. People don't want to do things because of what could happen to them when they leave the house, right?
Yep. But we're getting deep right here, and I'm about to nominate you for political office.
oh gosh, no.
Oh gosh,
Please
no.
Let me
so let's go ahead and
let's
go ahead and take a little commercial break, and then we'll come right back. And welcome back to South Florida Arts, Education, and You. I am Carey Brianna Hart, here talking with Maha McCain about The Confederates by Dominique Morisseau, a play that is opening this coming weekend, July 12th, and running until July 27th. New City Players, log on to newcityplayers.org so you can get your tickets. The preview is already sold out. This is going to be a hot production. We're talking about some hot topics, even with the political climate here in South Florida, the political climate here in the nation. We just had our Juneteenth celebration. We just celebrated also the 4th of July. Very, very patriotic, feeling very patriotic today. I love America. I love my country. I'm so happy to be here. I wouldn't choose to live anywhere else. I would not choose to live anywhere else on the planet. I love visiting, love visiting, love having a little taste here, a little taste there, a little taste there. But America is my home, my home country. I love it. But the pride of being an American and embracing all of its history as a Black woman sometimes can be problematic. This play deals with, sounds like, I haven't seen it, but it sounds like it deals with those issues that are so important. And if you love women, love Black women, love humanity, go see this play. Learn something about yourself as you point the fingers at the people on the stage. Remember that there are fingers pointing back at you. So you have to take a look inside. And something that I love is that the Sunday talkbacks, those are going to be nice. I assume I can only, if people are honest, nice and juicy. That's going to be
I hope so too.
Delicious, like a nice, delicious what's your favorite sloppy food? You know, like your favorite sloppy food to get into and just be sloppy and enjoy all the flavors of it. That's going to be these Sunday talkbacks. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting my ticket for a Sunday. I like to take in the theater in the evenings, but I think I may have to. I was going to go for the wind down weekend, but I think I will have to come for the sloppy Sunday after talk show. And I'm not saying they're not calling it sloppy Sundays. I'm calling it the Sunday after. Yeah, the talk back is going to be juicy and delicious. Something that you mentioned with working with your, just you briefly mentioned it about this process of in the rehearsal with working with the actors, their emotions, the emotions that come up for them organically as individuals. Because even though yes, we're playing parts, yes, we are acting, we are all living, breathing, emotional. Beings, actors tend to be known to be a bit more emotional than others. Some are known to be emotionally paralyzed and stunted in real life, but then pour it on instantaneously on stage. It runs the gamut. But when an actor is doing their job, regardless of their outside life, when they're doing their job and they are going through this process of creating characters and making the play happen, being part of that team, the emotions come up, and they are very, very important. So you mentioned briefly about your team dealing with the emotions that are coming up in the room, in the rehearsal room. What have been some of the things that have come up, and how have you helped your actors get through their personal emotions to get to what needs to be done to tell the story?
Well, this is what's interesting, and I have to attribute it to the wonderful human beings that are in the room. We have actually had the hardest time not laughing through a lot of rehearsals, and that's what's been the shock of it. I expected us to come in there and really deal heavily with the subject matter. And I tell you, the research that I was doing before the rehearsal period started, and just trying to make sure I had enough information as an artist about what was going on in the foundation of our country, and making sure that I could bring those facts to the process and to the cast. There's a lot of heavy material and history to get through, right? If we're dealing with the founding of this country, and there's a lot of horrific imagery and stories, and that is what I thought was going to be the hardest to deal with. But the play in itself, I think, is extremely cathartic, and we have had a good time getting into this. As you were saying, it's a very juicy story to tell. And I think it's been welcoming to be able to say, as an actor, I know it's been like this for me as a director, but just imagining myself if I were on the other side of the table and trying to embody these characters, it seemed like it has felt really good to let some of these words come out of our mouths, right? Sometimes I'll say to people, like, we can drop our shoulders, right? Yeah. We can just really relax and say, yeah, I get who this character is, and I know why they're saying these things. And so the biggest part of the process has been the joy and the fun that we've had in dealing with these difficult emotions and just hitting them head on and not being afraid to jump into them. There's a couple of scenes, once we get into, like, the middle of the play especially, where we have scenes where we have two black women talking to each other. And those scenes, for me, are some of the most fun because, at least in my experience, I don't get to do that many plays where I just have two black characters talking to each other, two black women on stage talking to each other as honestly as possible. And what I love about what Dominique Morisseau has done is she's hit all of these conversations from all sides. She's allowed some of the ugliness of these relationships to come out, as well as the joy and the beauty of them, because that's the honesty behind it. A lot of times in America, and especially in American history, Black people have been pitted against each other, and especially when we're talking about enslaved times.
And especially women. Especially
women, right? You know, we weren't allowed to do so many things, and it was a competitive space for survival. Mm-hmm. You know, I know that there is some mixed ideas about what the actual history of enslavement was, mm-hmm. but let us go on the record and say that it was not a time of, like, you know, on-the-job training. We are not talking about people who were hired as laborers. We're talking about people who were forced into doing work for no pay in horrific conditions that had a lot of brutality mm-hmm. surrounding their everyday life. And we have these women who had to deal with this and still, for the family that they had left, take care of that family, of their own families, as well as the families that they were being forced to work for. Mm-hmm. And through all of it, try to just make sure that they got through every single day. And when was the time given for them to take care of themselves? So it's understandable to me in those scenes where we're looking at those women talking to each other in that time period, that these would be extremely difficult conversations to have.
Can I tell you, Maha, my mm-hmm. shoulders are up to my ears right now with all that you've mentioned. Yeah. Just the tension, like just thinking about that, it just amounts to each layer. It's just like no.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here's where she really, and I'm saying she as in our playwright, she really kicks you in the gut with it. Then she comes to the present day, and then we get the same conversations happening about completely different things, and it's just like, wow, why are you not welcoming? Why are you not opening up your arms? What is the problem? Why can't you communicate with each other? Mm-hmm. And it all ties into how much conditioning has been going on over centuries about how you identify yourself, how you see yourself within society, what you're really allowed to do. One day in rehearsal, we were talking about something, and we were talking the Crowns Act came up, mm-hmm. which was an act enabled to say that black people, but specifically right now I'm just saying black women because we have wonderful hair, and we can do a lot of different things mm-hmm. with our hair. That runs the gamut from straight to very, very curly. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of spaces in corporate America and employment spaces where black women were not allowed to wear their hair certain ways because it wasn't deemed appropriate for the workspace. That was happening. That kind of discrimination was happening so much that it had to be an act enabled by Congress to protect black women in those spaces. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's just, you know, recently, right? So to live in a country where that has to be an act by government mm-hmm. to say you can wear your hair
however you want to wear your hair, honey.
However you want to wear it mm-hmm. and go to work and not be bothered, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's just a small example of things have not changed as much as we may have wanted them to. There has been a lot of progress, and we can't knock that, right? You know, you and I are sitting here talking to each other today on your show, and I'm about to go to the theater and jump into tech. You know, that is just a sign of progress by itself, mm-hmm. right? That we are doing these things as we want to do and being strong women in our own right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I bet you if we were just to go through and list the stories of discrimination that we've dealt with, we could be here for days recounting them.
Definitely.
And that to me I think is what I hope that the audience takes away, is that kind of reflection to say, okay, and I get it, and I see this, and I just want people to be like, yes, and this is happening, and this is a thing. and I acknowledge that that is a truth about society right now. Then the next step is, well, what do we do about it? But at this point, like you were saying earlier, my brain is still very much in the, but let's make sure that the play is at least telling that story by itself.
Right.
And then ideally, the what do we do next is inspired in the audience's mind as they're watching the play, as they drive home, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love theater when it blows your mind. You know, you come in and you see something that you've never seen before. It makes you, it triggers you to a point where you think a thought that you've never thought before. And it's even better when it makes you want to make something in your world improve, in your community improve, in your family improve, in your house improve, and within yourself. It makes you want to improve something within yourself. That to me is mind-blowing theater. I love, you know, that's what I love seeing. I love being a part of and talking about, you know. Yeah, and the biases that people have, I mean, we can't fix them all through the theater. You know, that's a very, very high hope, you know, to hope that we could fix all the biases through the theater. But we can start, it can trigger something.
Exactly.
It can trigger something.
It's just, you know, when I'm in class and I'm dealing with play analysis, one of the things I love when I'm working with students and they're first learning about play analysis, I said a really good play and a playwright leaves breadcrumbs for the audience, right? Like in Hansel and Gretel, like I'm following the breadcrumbs down the lane to try to get to what I think is grandma's house, right? Like, you know, I'm not shouting from the rooftops, here I am, here it is, right there. I'm just leaving little notes here and there to be like, did you get this? Do you hear that? And if you did, then you might get this next bit. And if you got that, here's another little piece for you. And to me, that's what's really fun, is saying if we can just follow the breadcrumbs and put them all together, then we've got something that we can actually snack on, right? And it's not about everyone's got to collect them all. It's not a Pokemon game. I just need you to get one special moment.
Just
right? Just one. Just catch one. And then you've at least caught something. And that's the thing. It's like, I just need, as a director, I just need the audience to have one moment. Ideally, you're having a whole arc of moments throughout the whole play. Right? Yeah. But if I can just have you just stop and think for a second. When you are brushing your teeth the next morning, thinking about the play a little bit, then we've succeeded, right? If you are saying, wow, what did happen? And why was that? And what was going on? Whoa, that really made me feel a certain way. Why? Then we've done something. Yeah, I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. It would be a beautiful thing to have all the answers at my fingertips.
Yeah.
But I do know how
I don't want to have all the answers. I don't want all the answers. I don't want all the answers.
Sometimes I do. I have to admit, sometimes it would be nice. It would be nice to have the keys to everything. But I don't mind mystery, and I don't mind discovery, and I love learning. You know what I mean? And continuing to continuously making connections.
Yeah, continuing to continuously continue. That is the goal.
Yes,
I'm here talking with Maha
exactly.
McCain, and we're going to be right back after this little break from our sponsor. I am Carey Brianna Hart, here talking with Maha McCain, South Florida Arts Education, and you. This is our last 15 minutes, and so the time crunch is here because there are so many ideas and things that we've talked about that I would want to hit on again. But I hope that I hope you were listening out there. I hope you were listening because we've talked about a lot of stuff. A question I like to ask, Maha. It's a personal question. I hope you don't just hang up on me. Because I know you're super private, and I respect that. But I want to know, why South Florida? Why? Why South Florida?
Oh, like why do I live here?
Yeah, why did you choose to stay here? I mean, because you came. I mean, you could live anywhere. You could live anywhere in the country.
No, I actually, I'm extremely a Midwestern person. Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, lived in Ohio for a while, and then moved here like in '03 to start working in teaching. So why have I stayed? I actually just really love living down here. I mean, yes, the weather is great. Don't get me wrong. That's always for pretty much anyone. But I really love the community down here, the sense of how international the city is. That's what I love about South Florida. There's a really good arts community down here. So thankfully there's that. But what I've discovered is that even within that, there's just a lot of diversity down here. And to me, that's been extremely rewarding to live in that kind of environment. There's a lot of art, you know, in Miami, especially. And I love art. I love doing art. I love being surrounded, just like you were saying earlier about yourself. I love art. I can't get away from it. I love going to museums. I love going to art museums. I love going to the theater. I love all of the cultural events that happen in Miami, all the different communities that live down here. I remember when I first moved here, and I think like one of the first few times I went to South Beach, I was just listening to all the different languages that I could hear just walking around South Beach. And for me, being, you know, at that time being a young person, that was really cool. You know, it felt like being in New York or LA, but having to not wear socks all year round, right? That's what I loved about it. It's a beautiful place to live. And I feel very, very grateful to have found people to work with in the community down here in theater and in education that have been very kind to me and very supportive of me in the work that I've been trying to do. So I have just not had any desire to move anywhere else. It's a great place to live.
It is. There's
a lot to do. And there's just really cool people down here like yourself, right? To just work with and to see, and as a theater person, to see really good, strong art being told on stage all the time.
Yes.
You know, I miss a lot of good things, and I really get upset about that because I'm like, man, I didn't get to go see that show, and I heard that was really cool. I want to go see that.
Because there's so much.
I want to absorb that.
So much happening.
Yeah.
Now, education. Why? I mean, and especially in a time when education is being downplayed in so many other areas, so many different circles, education is being downplayed. Why do you feel that education is still important? In whatever field. I mean,
no, I have a lot of thoughts about education because I'll tell you, growing up, I could not stand going to school. It was such a torture, right? I was just like, oh my God, really? Like I have to do algebra today? Why? But I love learning. I love learning. And for me, you know, I mostly teach university, but for years I had an arts camp, and that was the real joy of my life. Because to me, it's about helping young people through art, and I'll focus on arts education because that's what I do, right? Helping young people find confidence within themselves through art, finding a way to be self-expressive without censoring themselves through their art. I found a huge joy in saying I can be a guiding voice to these children. I can help them. I can help build a space, create a space where they can come and explore who they are and learn to express their feelings in a way that they felt proud about the work that they were doing and felt proud about themselves and who they are.
Yeah.
And I know as a child when I was growing up, that's how I felt when I got to my art classes, right? It was just like, let's go to chorus, let's go to orchestra, let's go to, you know, as a little kid you call drawing class, right? Art, like a studio art class, right? That's where I had the most fun in school, and science class, because I'm a big science nerd as well. But I felt comfortable in those classes. I felt like, oh, I get this. I get that art is a way of communicating, just like talking, just like reading. That if I as a person can learn how to connect to another human being through the art, that connection was a stronger connection than just by talking to them, and learning a little bit about them. That art heightened our connection as human beings. We understand a lot more, and we embody a lot more than we can sometimes just say in words. Now, I say that being an actor and a director. I'm not knocking the ability to write. Playwrights, do not hear me say this, because I cannot do what you do. I wish I had those skills to shape words, right? But I feel like what's fun, what's joyous about taking the words on the page and shaping them in a way that they're actually taking up physical space. What do you do when you hear a certain tone in a song or in a person's voice, right?
Right.
How does that reach you and cut through your heart? What's going on in your brain when you start to connect with another human being and different hormones are released within you as that connection builds? I'm fascinated by that. And if we open up those doors to children when they're young, then they're able to see the world in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's vital to me. It's not about teaching them any specific way to see. It's about allowing them to see that there are many different ways of seeing, and saying you can go towards these in any way that you like, but we're just saying don't be afraid to connect. Right. Don't be afraid to express. The saddest thing to me is a child that doesn't want to speak out because they're afraid of how it's going to land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't want to be made fun of. They don't want to seem different. Like, there's nothing wrong with being different if that's who you are. Just love yourself and be kind to other people. And that's the most important thing. And arts education helps students do that. You know, if you have to go, I'm thinking sometimes of the youngest students that I would teach, which would be going into first grade, right? If you can teach that group to sing a song in unison and all do the same movements at the same time with their song in front of an audience of their families and friends, but a lot of strangers as well. And if they can do that as a group and do it well, and by well I mean just do it and celebrate the joy of it, then we've taught them teamwork.
Yeah.
That's vital, right? We've taught them how to plan, how to structure an idea, how to work with others. These are very important skills to take into adulthood, right? How to collaborate, how to get out there and face your fear of performing in front of an audience. And if you make a little mistake, who cares? You went out there and you did it. No one's going to remember the mistake. They're just going to remember that you went and did something and made them feel. That, to me, is the most beautiful thing about being an arts educator, is instilling that idea in people. Now, I'm focusing on young people, but working with adults is the same thing. Just opening the doors for them to say, you can do it. And here's how you can do it. Now go do it. And make it your own. Yeah, that's just, I can't tell you how much fun that is for me.
Yeah.
How exciting that is for me.
That is very exciting. That is exciting. I love hearing you talk about it. And you are an awesome shaper of words, Maha. You're an awesome shaper of words. Yes, I have
That's
to
very kind of you.
No, I'm not
Thank
being
you.
kind. This whole hour expresses that you've talked about the play, you've talked about yourself, you've talked about arts and education and why it's important, and just opened your heart and just really given us a piece of yourself. And I thank you so much for being here with me for this hour. I am talking with Maha McCain, who is the director of The Confederates by Dominique Morisseau, which is showing at New City Players in Wilton Manors, 2304 North Dixie Highway. It's a 90-minute play, no intermission. You can go see the show on Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 8 p.m. You can also see the show on Saturday at 3 p.m. Friday and Saturday nights. They have a wind down weekend wind down, complimentary wine. And on Sundays, a 3 p.m. show. Afterwards, there's going to be a nice talk back, talking about gender issues, roles, black women in society, also white supremacy. The play is called The Confederates. This is going to be explosive. I'm so looking forward to this. This has just been such a great season of theater this year. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah,
Lots
it's
of
been a really fun season. A lot of good theater going on around town.
Yeah, a lot of good theater going around town. And if you've never been to the theater, I encourage you, let this be your first experience. Go out, see a live show. I mean, this is tremendous work, phenomenal work being done here in South Florida. We have so much talent here. Maha is an amazing talent that is here who has chosen to stay and live and work here and play here in South Florida. Thank you so much for being here and enriching our South Florida artistic cultural landscape. We're at the end of our hour, but I would like to know if you have any last words or shout outs or anything that you would like to say to anybody who might be listening live over the internet. We're not on Facebook today because my Wi-Fi is really, really bad. I'm getting a new phone on Monday. I'm getting a new phone. The phone got wet, and it's come to me. Yeah, but it got wet 3 years ago. Okay, now I've kept it dry since then, but you know what they say? It's going to come eventually. This is the eventually that came, and I know it was from that day that the phone fell in the puddle. Anyway, any last words to the
no,
live listenership?
I have to say a big thank you to Tim Davis and Elizabeth Price for approaching me to direct this play as the artistic directors of New City Players. I've worked with them both in theater, and they're wonderful amazing people. Artists. And I felt so lucky that they thought of me to do this. And also just hope that everybody comes out to see the show and that it's a good time and that we appreciate your time. And just a big thank you to you, Carey, for hosting us today, giving us a space to shout out the play. So thank you, because I really appreciate your work as well. So it's a joy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you so much, Maha. I mean, if you saw Maha and I standing next to each other, you might think we're sisters, but we're not. But that's
true.
Honestly, but that's just the spiritual radiation, the light radiating, I think, between the two of us. Just every time I see you, you're like a reflection of me, and I'm like, go Maha! So I'm so excited.
I take that as high praise, Carey. I take that as very high praise.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited to see the show. And out there, I thank you so much for listening. I love you out there. Thank you, Maha. I love you. Thank you for being here with me today. And have an absolutely incredible, wonderful day. Happy Tech Week.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, Carey. Love you, too. Thank you.